Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It is officially March Madness season and I wanted to just do a live March Madness bracket with you guys. I have not watched a ton of college basketball this year, surprisingly. Usually we watch a lot more than we actually have. I probably haven't seen a full game. Full transparency. Probably have not seen a full game this year. But March Madness season always makes me hype. You never know what's going to happen. And today I want to just pick out a bracket, even though I don't know much about these teams. So let's go into it. Alright, you guys, so I have the bracket pulled up. We're going to walk through it step by step and see who we end up with at the end. So on the east side, we have the number 1 seed Duke versus Siena. Definitely going with Duke here. I feel like you can't bet against the Blue Devils, especially when they're number 1 seed. Then we have Ohio State and TCU. And the 8 and 9s are always really tough ones because I feel like those out of all of them are kind of teams that are evenly matched. I'm going to go with Ohio State Buckeyes. Then we have St. John's versus Northern Iowa. 5 and 12 seeds usually have the biggest upsets, but I'm going to give it to St. John's. Kansas and Cal Baptist, no upset here. We're going to go Kansas. Louisville and South Florida. To see Louisville back in this tournament at like a number 6 seed is pretty good. I was living in Kentucky when Louisville had their big run and won. So let's give it to them. Michigan State, North Dakota State. Let's go Michigan State, UCLA, and UCF. I'm going to give it to UCLA just because I like their colors better. Like I said, I know nothing about these teams because we have not watched much college basketball lately. UConn versus Furman. We're going to go UConn here. Then we're going to move down to the South bracket where Florida is the number 1 seed. And then we have the playoff game. I don't pay attention to many of the playoff games, I'll be honest with you. Whoever gets in, gets in. And to me, they're most of the time, I'm not going to say all the time because it's happened, but most of the time they don't upset the people that they're going against. I think this is no different. We're going to give it to the Florida Gators. Clemson versus Iowa. I'm going to give it to Clemson here. Stay in the ACC. Vandy and McNeese. No shade against McNeese, but we're going to give it to Vandy. They definitely fought hard and was in the SEC finals. Lost to Arkansas, but we are definitely going to give it to the Commodores. Nebraska and Troy. I'm going to go Nebraska just because they've never won a tournament game and I want them to get that win. Carolina versus VCU. I won't bet against Carolina. That's Jordan's school. Illinois versus Penn. I'm going to go with Illinois here. I think that they'll be better than Penn. No shade to Penn. St. Mary's and Texas A&M. I'm going to go Texas A&M. I'm going to go the lower seed on this one. Give it to the Aggies. Houston and Idaho. Definitely Houston. They always make some noise in this tournament. Then we move over to the West, and we have number 1 Arizona, which I feel like are always number 1, number 2. They're just constantly good in basketball, so we're going to go with them. Villanova and Utah State. I'm going to go Nova here. Wisconsin and High Point. So there's one thing that they said when we were watching the bracketology about High Point that had me hesitant on Wisconsin, and that's that High Point scores a lot of points. Typically Wisconsin teams don't. They play good defense. So sometimes if you in the tournament, if you get on a shooting kind of shooting rampage, you could win this game. I'm gonna give it to Wisconsin just because I live there. I'll do them a 1-up. Then we have Arkansas, Hawaii. We're gonna go with the SEC school here. Then we have BYU and Texas/NC State. Can I be honest with you? I don't like that a playoff game is or a play-in game isn't a number 11 seed. Like they should all be 16 seeds. Like how are you going to say, "Oh, you're an 11, you're better than 5 of these teams, but you got to play to get in?" Doesn't make sense. Either way here, I am going to give it to the 11 seed. Honestly, I'm going to give it to Texas A&M or NC State. I think they're both really good teams. No shade against BYU. I think they're great as well, but I just want some more upsets on this bracket. Then we're going to go with Gonzaga. They always can shoot, which helps you in the tournament. Miami versus Missouri. Missouri is playing a kind of home game here. They're playing in Missouri, so that is going to be tough. I love Miami's colors and I love the U, but we are going to go with Miami. Then Purdue and Queens, got to give it to Purdue. Then finally, the Midwest bracket, Michigan, we're going to go with for sure. Georgia or St. Louis. I don't know much about either one of these teams, but I'm going to give it to St. Louis. Why not? Texas Tech and Akron. Let's do Tech here. Bama and Hofstra. Don't go against Bama. I don't care what sport it is. Tennessee versus Miami, Ohio / SMU. This one, to me, I really want to give to Miami, Ohio for the simple fact that they were one game away from being undefeated. And then when we were watching the bracketology, they were like, oh, Miami, Ohio was the last 4 in. To me, that's not right. How are you the last 4 in with an undefeated season almost? Now, listen, I know strength of schedule, blah, blah, blah. Don't get me wrong, but you almost went undefeated. So to me, that should say something. However, I cannot go against the Tennessee Orange, no matter how much I dislike them. Virginia versus Wright. We're going Virginia here. Kentucky, Santa Clara. I am not a UK fan. I have a lot of friends that are UK fans. I really want to pick Santa Clara here. UK has been, from what I've seen from highlights, kind of up and down all season. But I do think that they pull it off here. And then Iowa State. So that is our round, our first round picks. And now we're going to move into the second round. Duke and Ohio State. I'm going to give it to the Blue Devils. St. John's and Kansas. I'm going to go St. John's. Why not? Louisville and Michigan State. I don't know much about either one of these teams, but I know Michigan State always performs. UCLA and UConn, we're gonna ride with UConn here. And then we have Florida and Clemson, gonna ride with the Gators. Vandy and Nebraska. I'm gonna go Nebraska. You know what? They're not gonna only get 1 win, they're gonna get 2. Carolina and Illinois. I don't go against Carolina. I probably will later in the bracket, but because they're missing a huge key piece. But I'm gonna give it over Illinois. Why not? And then Texas A&M and Houston, the Battle of Texas. Let's go Houston. Arizona and Nova. We're going to go with the Wildcats here. Wisconsin and Arkansas. I'm going to go with... This one's hard for me because Arkansas were the SEC champs. They are very good. SEC is very strong in basketball. But the Big Ten is not a slouch either. I'm going to give it to Arkansas. Then we have Texas versus NC State over Gonzaga, Purdue and Miami. I'm going to give it to Purdue. They tend to be able to shoot really well. Michigan and St. Louis, Michigan, Alabama. We're going to go with Tennessee Orange. And I'm going to go with Kentucky because I want that Tennessee-Kentucky matchup. Will that happen? I'm not so sure if Kentucky will take down a number 2 seed, but I kind of want that Tennessee-Kentucky matchup. I think that would be a good one. Then we're going to go Duke over St. John's. We're going to go Michigan State over UConn. So our final 2 in the East bracket is Duke and Michigan State. I'm going to give it to the Blue Devils. And then we have Florida or Nebraska. I'm going to give it to Florida. I think this is where Nebraska's run ends. Carolina versus Houston. You know what I would love to see is a Carolina-Duke Final Four matchup. That would be fantastic. Does Carolina have the gas with their key player missing? I don't know. They took a big loss in the ACC tournament, so I don't know if they could do it. I'm going to have some faith in them. We'll put them against Florida. Let's have some faith. Then we have Arizona and Arkansas. We're going to go Zona for sure on this one. Gonzaga and Purdue. I like both of these teams. Usually both of these teams can shoot really well. Let's go with Purdue though. I like Purdue better. Michigan versus Alabama. I would love to pick Alabama here, and I'm going. I don't know though, because one of their guys just got arrested, and I don't know how big of a key component he is. Let's go Michigan. I don't know how big of a key component that guy is, and he just got arrested, and he's probably not going to be playing. If I'm going to be honest with you. Then Tennessee and Kentucky. I cannot believe I'm doing this, but we're picking Tennessee there. Oh, my sister's going to love me for that one. All right, then I have Duke in my final four. We have Florida versus Carolina. I don't think Carolina's going to make it. I'll be fully honest with you, but just because I want to see that Duke Carolina matchup, we're going Carolina here. I'm going to be a little selfish. Arizona and Purdue. I'm going to go Arizona. I think they're better. Michigan and Tennessee. I can't make Tennessee go that far. We got to go Michigan. So final four, Duke, Carolina, Arizona, Michigan. Gonna give it to Duke here. I'm not gonna be that unrealistic. And then Arizona, Michigan. Let's go Arizona. So Duke and Arizona is the final two. My winner is going to be Arizona. Why not? Now, like I told you guys, I have not watched much college basketball at all, so I am picking these very blindly. Sometimes that works in your favor, so we'll see if it works in mine. But let me know who you think's going to win the entire tournament, who are your final four picks, and let me know how crazy my bracket looks like, because it probably does look a little crazy. As always, subscribe to my channel, like, comment, follow me on all socials, and I'll see you guys next time.